First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles of the great millstone that told me what I know today. And shalom to all of you Akim out there that's forwarding this truth, as well as what I should say, forgot to say, giving you deserved salutations to you brothers out there that's forwarding this truth worldwide. And then I say shalom to the Yakim Wakwaf Yam that support us, what we say, what we do on the side. All right, that wish to teach, but for some odd reason you can't do that. So yeah, this is your brother Laban coming at you with another video, and in this video I'm going to be going over this particular law which this woman wants to pass, Kathy Hochul, however you pronounce her name, or call. Some say her call, I say Hochul, because it's just easy for me to just say it that way. But anyway, as this reads, shocking. NY governor seeks authorization to detain citizens in quarantine camps without rights during the next pandemic. And before I move forward, I just want to mention I've read a couple of articles of this woman trying to pass this law so that the government can be given the right to detain people. That's in New York, which I think she's the current governor of New York at this moment in time. And I think, and as of what I found out, is that she's currently still trying to pass this through, and it may very well be the case that she can. We'll just have to wait and see how much more she's going to be having to push this thing, and if not, maybe someone else will come through and push a law like this anyway. So now let's get into this. So it reads, in an alarming development, the Democrat governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, has been caught appealing to the courts to grant her authorization to detain citizens in quarantine camps against their will, despite the camp being deemed unconstitutional. The controversial move has sparked widespread concerns among the public, as it would involve the arbitrary detention of New Yorkers without notice, legal rights with no set time frame, and determined by state health officials. What is even more concerning is that there are no age restrictions in place, which implies that even innocent children could be taken from their families and put into these detention centers. This move has been brought about by the pandemic, during which New York officials decide to adopt a new rule that would give the state the power to undertake such extreme measures. Governor Hochul has gone back to court, making a renewed plea for permission to detain New Yorkers in quarantine camps. This latest development has caused widespread consternation and has led many to question the validity of such a move, and the fact that the state would have the power to detain its citizen without proper legal recourse has been viewed as a serious violation of civil liberties and a dangerous precedent that could have far-reaching implications for the future. And, the reason why I read this article, because once again, just showing you that the scriptures is going to come to pass. And the one scripture that I have in mind, which I'll bring it out right now, is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10, which reads, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, and be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And the only way they can be able to do this is in that hour of martial law, also known as the time of an emergency. So, whether it's an emergency because of a particular variant which became a pandemic outbreak, they'll be able to do that. Okay, that's the only way they'll be able to get away with actually enforcing that. So just like I said, she could probably pass this in this particular year if she keeps fighting on through, and they'll allow this law to basically be on the ready to be used. Okay, now what I want to do is read the book of Proverbs 27 and verse 12. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And a prudent man, as we are supposed to be, is to foresee the evil, as it is written that we've been given a sure word of prophecy, and that we've been blessed with an unction to know all things, as it reads in 1 John 2:20. But ye have an unction from the Holy One, and ye know all things. And what do we know to be exact in this lifetime, in this empire, is that great evils are going to befall this place. Okay, in this time, it ain't going to be good times. This civilization started out with great evils, and guess what? It's going to end with great evils. So this is what the men of the Lord are supposed to be expecting. Sometime around, sooner or later. Let me read this again. A prudent man foresee of the evil and hide of himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And now I'm going to read this. For man also knoweth not his time. This is Ecclesiastes 9 verse 12. For man also know not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in the evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. And it's going to be those that are going to be of the ilk of the simple. They're going to be snared in the evil time. But see, the men that are prudent, that are well aware, consciously aware of what's going on with the trends around the world, due to these powers that be, and as well as, keeping up with the news and everything, it's not going to catch us for a snare, the evil times I'm talking about. All right, we're going to be expecting these evil times to come, and when it does come, it ain't going to catch us off guard. We're not going to be triggered by it because we're going to expect it. It's kind of like in boxing, the punch that you don't see coming is the punch that knocks you out. All right, so a lot of people are going to be knocked out, emotionally distraught, because the world would have suddenly changed for the worse. The world that they fell in love with, to be exact, the world that they invested in so much. And when that happens, people are going to start bugging out. So now, speaking of an emergency setting, Bill Gates, Billy Boy, I call him. Billy Boy says the world must create a fire department for pandemics to avoid the next catastrophic outbreak. Bill Gates says the world must prepare for the next pandemic as it would respond to any other emergency, and we need a fire department for pandemics. He writes in the New York Times op published on Sunday. The world hasn't done as much to get ready for the next pandemic as I'd hoped, he continues. But it's not too late to stop history from repeating itself, albeit concerned. Gates says he's optimistic about the World Health Organization announcement. Excuse me, let me bring this back up. This light. Of a global health emergency corps that could spring into action at a moment's notice when danger emerges. He sees the success of this team as constantly practicing drills for different potential emerging pathogens, being able to implement widespread global testing, preventative sewage testing, and seamless coordination with governments across the world, he writes. So what he's basically calling for is, if there's a next pandemic, then we gotta treat it as if there was a fires that broke out. And when you read between the lines, what he's basically saying is that we may have to declare an emergency. We may have to undergo emergency measures. So as far as goes to say, a pandemic emergency response team, we need to prepare to fight disease outbreaks just as we prepared to fight fires. Gates, who authored How to Prevent the Next Pandemic, writes, if a fire is left to burn out of control, it poses a threat not only to one home, but an entire community, and the same is true for infectious disease, except on a bigger scale. All right, so let's just say, for example, you didn't want to take the during the next pandemic, which many warn could be greater than the previous one, right? They can throw you into a concentration camp. Just like that. So if you've been infected, or you've just coughed just a little bit, you could be sent to a near camp. Like, let's just say you're working, right? And you coughed. Your boss can call whoever they can call and get you dragged out, get you to leave your job. And then eventually the police comes around and takes you to a facility and keeps you in that facility for a particular point in time. All right. But like I said, it ain't going to be just a regular day. I got to scratch that. It ain't going to just be a regular day. It's going to be an hour of emergency. That will be the case if there's another pandemic, and in that time they'll be able to what? Activate a law which they've passed way prior, before the next pandemic came, and they can use these laws, which, as I've just read to you, this woman, Kathy Hershaw, she's looking to pass a law to give the government authorization to detain citizens in New York. And it's just not going to be New York, as we should already know. All of America is going to be having to undergo this experience, where they're going to be having to go to a camp by the authorization of their government. All right. And this is where Revelations 2:10 comes in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the book of, let's get Revelations 12:12. Revelations 12:12. So this reads, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Let's look up this word, great wrath. So the word would be what? Thumos, right? Let's play it. I might be wrong.
Strong's G 2370. Thumos.
Yeah, which is passion, angry, heat, anger forward, boiling up, and soon subsiding again. Glow, azure, the wine of passion, and flaming wine, which either drives the drinker mad or kills him with its strength. So Esau's coming with a red hot passion of wrath. And when the Lord puts the spirit on Esau to do that, guess what? He's going to be extremely red. Remember, we're talking about Edom here, the nation of Edom, which the nation of Edom, which they claim to call themselves white people. They claim to be so-called white people, but in all reality, they're red. Okay, and when they show their anger, they're gonna show themselves red. All right, or as the brothers from the south would say, red. Okay, so yeah, Esau's coming down with a passion, with great anger. He's coming with a great deal of a passion of anger. All right, because they know they're gonna have but a short time, and to get the ball rolling on that regard, they're gonna what? Stage multiple of different psychological operations to get to that point. And in that, what's going to be the case? The MOTB, they're gonna force you to take that mark. Not as the IUIC would have you think. Like a couple of guys I've heard talking about, oh yeah, they'll be able to bum rush you and hold you down on the floor and then put the mark inside of you. That ain't gonna happen, man. What they're gonna do is they're gonna do it in a different way to get you psychologically willing, to get you to be willing, as it is written, that he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive a mark. So Esau is going to hit you where it hurts, and you're going to be having to be tempted to be caused to take that mark. He's not going to force it to you. Well, actually, he's going to force it to you, but in that kind of way. All right. And I mean, we're talking about the devil here. The word devil means deceiver. So what do you think Esau's going to do? He's going to be psychological with this thing, man. He's going to activate fear on a great scale. Like, this has always been their tactic, to exact fear so that people can undergo what their government tells them to undergo. This has always been their best technique, and it's done exactly what it's supposed to do. All right, like just imagine, for example, like the whole thing of fear has been proven to be a tactic that works to get people to do what you want them to do. It's always been the case. So they're gonna use that energy of fear. They're gonna pump an extreme amount of fear towards you people, to shock you, to traumatize you, to cause you to take that mark. And that's going to be the time of Jacob's trouble, man. All right. And they'll be able to do all of this stuff. Read the book of Revelations 12:12 again. So we're going to read this. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them, and woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. And this is going to come. This is the evil that we foreseeth. Okay? Because this devil at that time, like I've said and I'll say it again, there's going to be multiple of different psyops that will be in effect to get to this point, because they know that their time is going to be short. Just like what's his name, man? King Charles III said at the COP26 meeting, okay? Which I'll put that on post-production right there and there on the video, where he said we have to bring about a martial stance.
Here we need a vast military-style campaign to marshal the strength of the global private sector, with trillions at its disposal, far beyond global GDP, and with the greatest respect, beyond even the governments of the world's leaders.
But what he's basically saying is that in order for us to change the world to the Great Reset setting, which obviously he's the head guy of that, they're going to have to bring in a state of emergency. And just going back to what I said a couple of seconds ago, there's going to be a multiple of different psyops that's going to be happening. So this is going to be the excuse for this devil to come down having great wrath, and then therefore they'll be able to detain you without your right as well. Okay, so that's it on that right there. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to read a different article, because there's a disease institution down here in the UK that's giving a warning of another disease, and it's called Disease X is coming. Are we ready for the next pandemic? Right? So it goes far as to read, as the airlock swings shut, the safety coordinators issue a final reminder. Please do not touch anything. He says, machine hums as we step into a containment lab. And this is where we work on some of the most dangerous viruses, says Professor Tom Solomon. Yep, he's a Amalekite, director of the Liverpool-based Pandemic Institute. A lot of initial COVID work was done here. Inside of biological safety cabinets sit trays of purple cells infected with Japanese encephalitis virus, a mosquito-borne pathogen that can cause inflammation of the brain, paralysis, and death. Solomon assured me the virus is being assessed today has been inactivated, meaning they can no longer infect humans. But the protocols here are still strict. Powerful fans suck and any airborne microbes up into a filter rather than being allowed to waft around the room. The most dangerous material is handled inside the airlight or the airtight cabinet used in build rubber or gauntlets. All other equipment can be used only with the corresponding gloves, which are bent before anything else is touched. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get down to the point, because there's a particular point in this article here. Yeah, so I could read from here and get to the point, but I'm still going to see what I can do here. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read this. Right. I'm going to read this part and then I'm going to go to the point. So this reads, we need to be very careful. Repeat, Felipe Viciano, if I'm correct. The safety man, one step away from the equipment, inactivated or not, the sample looks pretty alarming. I don't want inadvertently to cause a lab leak. This Thursday will mark 3 years since Boris Johnson ordered the UK into its first lockdown. Since then, we have endured the biggest social and economic disruption since the Second World War. Some 219,000 people in the UK and nearly 7 million globally have lost their lives to the variant. Solomon's task is to ensure that never happens again. If we wait for things to become pandemics, then we've already failed in our mission, he says. So now let's get down to the point now. So this is their investigation. Concerns illnesses such as Ebola, Zika, Lassa fever, and Nipah virus, and these viruses, others like them, form the bulk of the World Health Organization's list of priority pathogens, diseases that pose the greatest public health risk due to their epidemic potential. But most terrifying of all is the other at the very bottom of the list, disease X. So we got to be aware of disease X, brothers and you sisters that are watching, which that sounds like a film. That sounds like a title for a film or a video game. So we got to be watchful of this right here. That's what the scientists are saying. Okay. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be blatant in how I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but we already know the deal, man. We know that Esau does things by purpose, by putting out particular, variants. And that's how I'm going to put it right there. Esau puts out particular variants, and it's done for a particular reason, man. Yeah, so, and now what I want to also show you, brothers, and you sisters, this as well. And this is called the Pandemic Institute, which this institute is based in Liverpool. And they're going to be which they are not going to be. They are globally connected to, other health institutions all around the world. So let's just say if disease X comes around, they're going to give the warning. All of these nations are going to get the warning. Because remember when the COVID hit 3 years ago, it first hit England. And England was given the warning. So if this one hits now, then it's going to be the same situation. The one is going to come from the same place. So there you go. So they're going to give the global warming. I said global warming. Well, I meant to say they're going to give the global warning to those that they're in contact with globally. The Pandemic Institute, which they have they have different bases all around, as you can see: Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Uruguay, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Kenya, and the likes, as you can see over here. So yeah, this devil is going to stage multiple different attacks, variant attacks, you name it, because they need to hold the people down, and or should I have said, better yet, they need to control people much more and greater now, because at a particular time, they're going to be running out of time of their rulership. So, like I said, in that time, it's going to be all kind of stuff going on, and it's going to give them the excuse to do exactly what I just read here. Okay? And this is what we expect the men of the Lord. We foresee of these evils to come, and we know that the so-called white man, beginning with the JOOs, they're going to be doing that. As it is written in the book of Proverbs 16, and I believe it's 14, where it reads that the Lord have created all things, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. And it's going to be the Edomites, which they're of the ilk of the wicked, pursuant to the book of Malachi 1 and 4, and they will bring in the evil time. So that's what we're looking for. And in that time, guess what? As Daniel put it in chapter 12, there's going to be deliverance for us, the Israelites. So this is why we look forward to this. Yeah, it's scary, but guess what? Through those scary times, we're going to be delivered out of this miserable realm that we're in. So with that, I close. Shalom.